Hi, my name is Ken.
And I'm Jason.
And today we are reviewing
Castle Panic. Castle Panic is a semi-cooperative game for 1 to 6 players that was originally released in 2009. Players are the defenders of a castle attempting to prevent a large-scale invasion of said castle by monsters from the surrounding forest.
Right there. That's it. Right there. That's perfect. Look at that spot.
I don't know, is this the best place for a castle? I mean, aren't these forests monster-ridden?
No. I look at the view. It's perfect. You've got a fantastic view of the trees. You also get a fantastic view of the monster-riddled mountains.
Well, I suppose you would know best.
What are those humans doing over there? I'm not sure, but I think we can take them.
Tactically, we should destroy them before they are able to build their defensive structures. No, we must wait. Perhaps they will build a Starbucks. I do not believe that they are building a Starbucks after all.
I was really looking forward to a place nearby that sells mocha frappuccinos too.
Very well then, this means war. Sir, the monsters are attacking from the monster-riddled forest. What should we do?
Man your battle stations, son, and if we make it out of this alive, I am going to kill that architect.
If only we had built the castle on the safe plains of Non-Monstera.
As if we could afford that in this economy.
Castle Panic actually has 3 different types of play. You can play it fully cooperative, where you're all working together, or you can play it semi-cooperatively, where you're sort of working together to save the castle, because if the castle goes, you all lose. But the kills you actually get on monsters give you points. The third way is actually a very interesting way called the Overlord method, wherein one character is actually playing the monsters, and all the other players are trying to defend the castle.
Alright, so first I'll go over the components really quickly. Now, this is the main board. As you can see, it's actually split up into 6 arcs going out from the center. They're numbered and they are colored. And these arcs are further separated into 5 different rings: the Forest, Archer, Knight, Swordsman, and Castle rings. In addition, it lists the order of play on 2 of the corners. And on the other corners, it just denotes what all of the special monster tokens do. And we'll get to the monster tokens in a bit. So these are the little cardboard walls to the castle. And these are the castle towers. The towers are what you're actually trying to defend. If you lose all of the towers, then you lose the game. This is just a selection of the different monster tokens in the game. These are drawn to show what monsters show up each turn. And there are 49 of these. The game ends as soon as all 49 are dealt with, or as soon as the towers are destroyed. These are just the cards for the game, and these are just used to attack the monsters on the board. Each player has a hand of these cards that he can play during his turn. The game also comes with a die, which is used for monster placement and a number of other things during the game, and it comes with a couple of miscellaneous cardboard tokens which are used with special cards, which we'll discuss later on. So setup for Castle Panic is nice and simple. To start off with, you just place the towers so that there is 1 in each of these 6 center castle spaces. Next, you place 1 wall in front of each tower. Next, you pick out 3 goblin tokens, 2 orc tokens, and a single troll token. And these are placed randomly in the archer spaces around the outside of the board. Monster tokens will all have numbers on the outside to denote life points. You always place the monster initially so that the highest value, in this case a 2, is facing inward toward the castle. Next, the deck of cards is shuffled thoroughly, and players are dealt a hand of cards. The number of cards they get is dependent upon the number of players. In this case, we're going with 2 players, so each player gets 6 cards. The deck is then set beside the board with enough room for a discard pile. The starting player is then determined by a random dice roll. There are 6 phases to each player's turn. They are denoted on these order of play cards, which can be passed out to players for easy reference. At the beginning of the player's turn, they draw up to their maximum hand size, in this case 6, although it could be different depending on the number of players. The player then has the option of discarding 1 card and redrawing. The player is then allowed to trade 1 or 2 cards, depending on the number of players, with the other players at the table. Players are not allowed to show their cards to each other, but they can openly say what they're willing to trade. Next, the player is allowed to actually play the cards to attack monsters and enact other effects. So very briefly, I will go over the different card types here. First of all, there are the basic cards, which are simply archers, swordsmen, or knights, and these are paired with a color. In this case, it's a red archer. So in this case, this card could be played to do 1 damage to any monster in a red archer space. In this case, either the troll or the orc here. When a monster takes damage, they are simply rotated so the next lower number is pointing towards the castle. In the event that they are already at 1, they are eliminated from the board. In addition to the basic cards, there are also wild cards such as this, an any color knight, which can be played in any of the knight spaces. There are also hero cards, which are paired with a color. When these are played, they can damage any 1 monster within that colored arc, except in the forest ring. There are brick and mortar cards. If you have 1 of each of these during your turn, you can discard them to rebuild a wall that has been destroyed previously. There are also a number of special cards like these, drive him back and draw 2 cards. These have special effects when played, and the effects are described on the card. Once the player has played any cards that they wish to play, they must then move all of the monsters on the board. Each monster moves forward 1 ring. In the event that the monster is in the swordsman ring, and there is a wall in front of them, that monster takes 1 damage, in which case they may be destroyed, but they also destroy the wall. Once a wall is destroyed, if a monster moves into the corresponding tower space, again, they take 1 damage, and they destroy that tower. If the tower is missing and a monster is supposed to move into the castle space, they actually do move into the castle, in which case they move clockwise during each of their subsequent turns. Finally, at the end of their turn, the player must draw 2 monster tokens at random from the box and roll the die to see where they are placed. In addition to monster tokens, there are a few special tokens as well, such as draw 4 monster tokens here, giant boulders, which essentially roll forward on the corresponding numbered arc until it destroys a wall or tower. There are boss monsters that have special abilities that are resolved as soon as they come into play. And there are also plague tokens, which force players to discard all of the corresponding cards in their hand. Alright, so now it's the beginning of my turn again. I have 4 cards presently, so I have to draw 2 more to bring me up to 6. Next, I may discard a card. I currently have a blue archer, which isn't doing me much good, so I'm going to discard that and draw a card, in which case I have a red knight now. Next, I can trade cards if I wish. I have a green knight, if you're interested.
The green knight's not going to do me much good, but we need to get rid of some of these bigger guys, so I actually happen to have a barbarian in my...
Next, I get to play cards. First of all, I'm going to discard a brick and a mortar to rebuild one of the walls which we've lost. Next, I play a red knight to damage this troll. I'm going to play a barbarian to destroy this troll. It should also be noted that the barbarian card is amongst a set of 3 or 4 cards that actually have this symbol at the top, the castle symbol. These are the only cards that can be played against monsters that have entered the castle. Finally, I play the missing card, which means that I do not have to draw any monster tokens at the end of this turn, which is quite a boon. Next, the monsters all move. In this case, this goblin is destroyed because he's hit a wall, but the wall is also destroyed. This orc takes 1 damage and destroys this wall. This orc takes 1 damage and destroys this wall. And this troll moves up. It's now my turn again. I have only 1 card in my hand, so I have to draw 5. Next, I may discard 1 card and redraw if I wish. In this case, I choose to discard a blue archer and draw 1 card. Next, I may trade with Ken if he happens to have anything that's useful to me.
Unfortunately, I have something that's not going to be of any use to you. I have a red knight.
Alright. In that case, I move on to my play cards phase. First of all, I play 2 green archers to destroy the Goblin King. A green hero to damage one of these trolls once. A red swordsman to damage this troll once. And I choose to play a drive him back in order to move this orc back to the forest. Again, this is one of the only cards that could have been played against the orc because it does have the castle icon at the top. That is the end of my play cards phase. So next the monsters move. So now I must draw 2 new monster tokens. The first token I draw is a Troll Mage. I roll the die, and the Troll Mage goes to arc number 6. As soon as the Troll Mage comes into play, all of the monsters on the board move 1 square.
And Jason still has 1 more draw.
For my second draw, monsters move clockwise, which actually ends the game, destroying our last tower. So unfortunately in the example game that we just played, we lost. But if we had have won, and if we were playing the actual semi-cooperative version, which is the regular version of the game, then we would have actually counted up our points from the monster tokens that we had slain during the game. Each normal monster is worth a number of points equal to its hit points at the beginning, and boss monsters are worth 4 points. And whoever actually got the most points becomes the Master Slayer, and they have won the game. Alright, so Castle Panic is actually very similar to the tower defense games that are pretty prevalent on the internet right now. And, you know, I'm a fan of them. Many people are fans of them, so that's good.
I'm a huge fan as well.
It's a very, you know, easy game to play. It's an easy game to learn. And plus, with the 3 different play styles and the random monsters and random cards, it's a unique experience every time. So it keeps things fresh. As a result, I very solidly give this game 5 meeples.
I also really enjoy this game. It's very fun. There's a couple things I have a problem with, but I think they would be easily fixed with, say, an expansion. Fingers crossed, of course. It is very entertaining, but I find that after playing it a few times, it gets a little stale for my taste, and this is kind of one of those things. But it's very, very open for expansions. It has a lot of room for, not improvement per se, but expanding, I suppose. Overall, I would have to say I give it about 3.5 meeples.
And that gives us a grand total of 8.5 meeples.
That's right. So overall, Castle Panic, I'd have to say, is a pretty good game.
Yep, me too. So that's all for today, and please join us in 2 weeks' time for our next episode where we're going to be reviewing Dominion.
Indeed.